Let's put the focus away from bilaterals on the G20 itself. And obviously, your biggest takeaway is going to be on the economic front and financial inclusion. The G20 Global Partnership for Financial Inclusion document prepared by World Bank has lauded the transformative impact of DPIs in India over the past decade under the Modi government. Let's get your highlights essentially of what the World Bank has said. The World Bank has highlighted that India has hit the 5-decade goal in a matter of 6 years. And they've highlighted this is something that everyone, the world is talking about. India's digital infrastructure. The World Bank has highlighted that, saying that a digital push has cut financial inclusion journey by 47 years. That's a whopping amount right there. Let me repeat those numbers for you. A 5-decade goal being accomplished in a matter of 6 years, according to the World Bank. And of course, they're highlighting how the government's digital push has ensured that our journey of financial inclusion has been cut by 47 years. So that's the World Bank. They're putting numbers out for everyone, for the world to take note of ahead of the G20 summit essentially kicking off. Financial inclusion is something that's always discussed in great detail at the G20. There's going to be a lot of talk of regulation of cryptocurrency, and there's going to be a lot of talk about how India has set up the digital infrastructure with a great emphasis really on UPI. There are many countries who are trying to emulate it. There are many countries who are signing deals with India, and I'm referring to developed countries as well. Many of them who are wowed and floored by the UPI model and have decided to take India's help to emulate it in their own country. So it's only fitting that you've got the World Bank also taking note of that. Okay, so this World Bank report also will play a very, very crucial role, considering that it will be discussed in the G20, the group of 20. There is no doubt that, when you actually see these leaders sit down, they're going to have a great deal to say about India's digital infrastructure. And we've seen that in many foreign dignitaries' visits, in every conversation that they have with the Prime Minister, they make a mention of UPI and how it's really transformed the lives of so many Indians and how widespread it is. It's reached every single part of the country. And it's that particular system that the World Bank also has hailed, highlighting how all of this has essentially helped in India's growth journey. According to the World Bank, so much so that India has hit a 5-decade goal in a matter of 6 years. They've also highlighted how our digital push has helped in ensuring more financial inclusion, that entire journey, that long road towards financial inclusion has actually been cut by 47 years. Paulami Saha is with us on this. Paulami, you talk about UPI, you talk about digital infrastructure. It's something that many countries have very publicly gone on to praise and say that they need to learn from India. So it's only fitting that the World Bank also refers to it.
That's right. India has been, in fact, focusing a lot on DPI, which is the digital public infrastructure. You mentioned UPI in terms of how we've ensured that it reaches everyone. The Prime Minister, in fact, put down his notes and his thoughts before the G20 summit is to commence over the weekend yesterday on his blog, narendramodi.in. And one of the things that he did, in fact, speak about is about how technology can ensure that, in fact, social inequity goes down. His vision is to ensure that technology binds us all. There is nobody who, in fact, falls under the category of have-nots, because technology binds us all as well. So digital public infrastructure in the way that we are ensuring that UPI-linked wallets, in fact, are making it easy for payments to be made, etc. How we ensure that during COVID-19, much of the information that you needed was all available on the COVID app in itself. You could download your COVID certificate from that app in itself. Various little projects like Bhashini, for instance. Again, these are all Ministry of Information and Technology projects. All of these projects are meant to ensure that social inequity, he of course considers that the same when he speaks about the Jan Dhan Yojana as well. So all of this, in fact, is looking towards financial inclusion. The US President has also mentioned that as far as his vision for the G20 summit and what he hopes will be achieved during the summit is concerned, it is reforms of the World Bank and also ensuring that other multilateral development banks, MDBs, are in fact utilized in ensuring that there is lending, maximum lending towards, of course, taking climate action, and of course towards ensuring that the disparity is covered as far as low and middle income economies are concerned. That's exactly again then how it links back to the Prime Minister's vision to include the global south on the high table, which is what he's done. He's a Prime Minister who ensured that after India assumed presidency of the G20 in December 2022, he hosted and India hosted the Voice of the Global South Summit in January, where 125 countries participated. The vision is to ensure that developing economies are also at the high table, and that's exactly what has been said in this policy document as well, ensuring that the debt policies are in fact at par when in fact extending that debt towards these developing economies are concerned. US, of course, wants to counter China in terms of its coercive lending pattern, in the way that China, of course, is using its lending pattern. And that is what the US wants to counter. What India wants to do, the vision is very different. India wants to ensure that there's financial inclusion, and developing economies are also, in fact, included in such a way that the debt burden on them is reduced and it's fair.
And India is leading on that front, essentially, in ensuring that developing countries, as much as developed countries, get a big say in this. Polemy, also, when you talk about the big economic takeaways that are expected from the G20 summit, because those are going to be really the big headlines from the meeting that happens over the weekend, there's a lot of talk about cryptocurrency, the need to regulate it. And India, again, has been leading on that front.
Absolutely. The Prime Minister has been someone who, in fact, has seen that, cryptocurrency is become, at the time that it was emerging, that it was becoming quite the talking point. It was something that a lot of people were, in fact, dabbling in. And he understood that while there are benefits to the same, of course, there are a lot of pitfalls to the same as well. And he, of course, spoke cryptocurrency at various fora. He, in fact, nudged institutions, investment institutions, banking institutions and others, and big economies to speak about cryptocurrency. And that is something that he's referred to, in fact, in the interview that he gave to Business Today as well, ahead of the G20 summit, the first interview that was scored as far as the Prime Minister speaking on the G20 to any media outlet was concerned. And over there, because, he places so much focus on technology, he of course said that we need to speak about AI.
Correct.
And the role that AI will play in our lives, and artificial intelligence will play in our lives, and how it's going to interfere in our lives and possibly sometimes hamper, sometimes benefit. We need to speak about
Very
that.
true.
And cryptocurrency is the other issue that he mentioned as well.
Now, let's see what really comes off that. But India has been pushing hard for regulation of cryptocurrency. Let me again highlight that the World Bank, in its document, G20 document, heaping praise on India, on our digital push, on our focus on digital India, and how it's made such a huge difference in our growth story. Thanks very much, Polemy, for joining us with those details.